Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the high-grade GOK Seed Freedom version, and as you can tell from that name, it's from the movie Gundam Seed Freedom. If you haven't seen the build of this already, there's a full build, you can check out how it goes together. This is one of the most unique high-grade Gundam kits of all time because it's kind of a kit that has some of another kit inside of it. Also, we'll mention this video right here would not have been possible without those absolutely awesome people over at HobbyLink Japan, so there's a link to this down there in the description. Now let's get right to it. So first off, just before I jump into the aesthetics, I will mention that I did panel line this kit right here just to give it a little bit, well, to bring out that detail that is hidden in there. As usual, I did use the Pour Style Gundam marker. This time I did use brown. I thought it'd be a little nicer on the actual shades of color on this particular model kit than the usual gray or black that I would use. These are super easy to use, just in case you don't know. You just basically dab them against the surface, the line then fills in automatically for you, and all you have to do once you've done that all over the place is to remove the excess. Usually I just use the included eraser pen with something like a Q-tip, panel line eraser, or some kitchen towel. There isn't really a whole lot of actual panel lines to panel line on this, but I did panel line the ones that did need some panel lining. There is also some white aspects on this as well. Again, not too many panel lines, but I did use the gray version of the marker on those. Now back in the build, I did also mention there is a section included in here, one of the accessories that is not color accurate. Now I did sit down to actually paint this to be color accurate, but the problem is it's still wet as of me doing this right now. So I guess if it's dried up at all come the accessories, maybe I can show you what it looks like. But as for now, let's just jump in to the aesthetics. Alright, so jumping right on into the aesthetics, and that right there is what you get once you just snap this together out of box with a little bit of extra panel lining, nothing more. Now when it does come to the overview of this, it's pretty cool that Bandai have really retained the classic GOK look. Honestly, you could almost forget that this isn't a classic 1979 GOK at all. All of the elements and the design elements are there, including the Char Aznable colors. The only real changes are there's some minor angle changes here and there, like in the torso, it's not as V-shaped between the chest. We have full skirting armors compared to the kind of diaper-esque zone we had on the old school GOK, and we do have some extra colors, a little bit of white on the knees and the shields around back. That horn up top is brand new for this as well, but overall it still brings that classic GOK flair, which is pretty cool. So this does mean whether you're a fan of Gundam Seed Freedom, or an old school UC design lover, this has something for everyone. So when it does come to color separation and color accuracy, first off, when it comes to the stickers, this is all we get inside of the, well, box. This is just a pair of Gundam eyes, and if you've seen the build, you know already, and you probably do know already, inside of this, there is indeed a Gundam, or partially a Gundam when it comes to this particular kit right here. So the eyes are actually in there on the Infinite Justice Type 2, so you can't actually see them because the angle the head is at. Wait, no, there it is. That's the sticker in there, working nice and effective. However, when it does come to the overall color separation, besides those eyes, as far as I can see, this is absolutely perfect. Side by side with the line art, all the colors are there. The only thing that may not be is the kind of recessed areas like in the knees, but again, if you can do it simply with panel lining, it's really not that big of a deal. Overall, when it does come to the actual plastic part separation on this, it is phenomenal. We've got parts coming through from underneath, all those gray sections you can see in the chest, the head, the venting, that is all coming through from the lower levels, which is fantastic, including those missiles in the top of the head and that gray section right there. Incredibly impressive. The color separation in here is brought to a whole different level entirely by the inclusion of some interesting aspects, like the cuff on the backpack right there on the thruster is in a very specifically, well, should I say even specific shade of pink. That then very particular shade of pink, of course, which is Infinite Justice pink, can be seen from a lot of other detailed aspects as well. Just inside the knee, we've got that little bit showing through. That is actually a full little section in here made of Infinite Justice parts. Now, there is no actual Infinite Justice Type 2 inside of this, just in case you are curious. Just subtle nods to the fact that it is armored inside of this GOK. The feet underneath, especially with the little added bit of gray, is one of my favorite aspects. Actually, this little section of the foot right here should be in white, so that is one little color accuracy issue. And speaking of the Infinite Justice, there it is in a little bit of a size comparison beside the GOK Seed Freedom version. As you can see, the GOK is quite big, and this is one thing that always kind of gets me and shocks me a little bit when I'm building gunpla. I always forget GOKs and a lot of Xeon-esque mobile suits are usually quite large, so this is definitely on the bigger side. I suppose if you can fit a head and torso of an Infinite Justice inside of it, it's gonna be a pretty chunky boy. So continuing on with the size comparisons now, there it is beside the RX 78-2 high grade Revive on the left, real grade 2.0 on the right, because the real grade is that little bit bigger. Some more size comparisons now taking at complete random, that is the Immortal Justice on the left, the high grade G-Quacks on the right, high grade Gundam Ariel, high grade Gundam Exia, and finally high grade Zeta and high grade Gundam Barbatos. So jumping on into the accessories now, and here's absolutely everything that comes with the GOK Seed Freedom version. Now this is a lot more than you'd usually expect to see with, well, a GOK. First off, we do have the Volantis backpack, the same one we would have seen with the Infinite Justice Type 2. We've got 2 alternate hand sections with glowing orange beam effects. And by glowing, I mean they look like they're hot. I don't know if they actually glow. We've got some standard beam effects as well for using on the Volantis' wings. And finally, we do have an alternate part for the head. I did paint some aspects on this. It's not done yet, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Overall, a great spread in here without a single doubt. First up in here, we do have the alternate claws. As you can see, the way it kind of wiggles on this stand here, it's not a regular 3mm attachment whatsoever. We do have some nice effect parts here. These are kind of a orange, almost glowing looking blade effect. They catch the light so nicely. They do have some kind of glitter inside of there, which is very nice. And these build up and look exactly the same as the standard ones you would have seen already. Include that nice double layered red armor on the outside, gray looking mechanical aspects in on the inside, coming through from below kind of look. Again, gorgeous. Attaching these on is super simple. They're just attached on via a little peg like so. Like I mentioned, these are not 3mm, even though they are super close to it. So it might be hard to attach them onto other things if that's what your plan is. You'll have to thicken something up at least. That's what it is like attached, looking extremely nice. And the second one attaches on in the exact same sort of way. And there we go. Heat Claw number 2. These are attached on by kind of C-clips, so they just move just like so. There's them spread all the way out. Very nice. A little bit, oh, well, no, that's fine. There it is all the way out, and there it is all the way in. There is also rotation to this as well, and I do like the design aspect of the shield round here. That is a pretty cool design. Next up in here, we've got that X-Wing backpack, which is the Volantis. Now, this is exactly 100% the same as what we would have seen with the high-grade Infinite Justice Type 2 kit. So it does everything the same, but we'll, I guess, speed it up a little bit. The wings clamp together, again, kind of like an X-Wing. This little section just moves on forward like so, and the wings can rotate and move down and out of the way like that. Overall, it's a very nice backpack indeed. Minor down point is the fact that we do have these 2 little attachment points right here, which do connect Infinite Justice style, and I'm just wondering, can you actually connect the Infinite Justice backpack on to this kit right here? That I'd like to know. Alright, so one trip to the gunpla catacombs later, and here we've got that backpack. Should have a similar-ish attachment, so let's see if we can pop this on the GOK, just in case you're curious. Want to make some kind of kit bash or some kind of custom. So let's see if it does attach on. It should be pretty much the same. Looks identical. There we go. Yeah, pops on. Up we go. And it can somewhat move forward. A little bit blocked. It's going to be shooting a little bit to the sides, but it does fit on and it can be used. Anyway, when it does come to getting the actual backpack on, it attaches on in the exact same way. Nice and flush to that backpack. Again, this can be moved around in a whole bunch of different ways. The wings can move up just like so, and we do have a pair of effect parts for using in here too. As for stand, no stand is included. It is interesting that they have amalgamated the actual usual stand crotch hole into these 3 right here, so you have a choice of whichever one you like. That, and they're also verniers. So I'm going to go with my favorite as usual, which is the simple stand. Now, I will mention something. I'm not sure if I actually said it in one of these videos, but I was slowly coming around to Bandai's new action base. I'm not sure if it's the action base 7, which tends to work with these kits. It did have a nice sideways pivot on it that these ones don't have, but yeah, it just went and broke. They're they're not very hard wearing. For a review or something like that, these stands are rock solid and will always work out. If you want something for on your shelf, those will work fine. But if you're going to be moving something around a lot, taking pictures, taking video, then I always suggest these right here. So next up in here, we've got the 4 effect parts in that nice shade of pink. These are very Atheron Zala through and through. It really isn't an Atheron suit without some kind of beam effect on the legs and or wings. And this is it right here. These attach on either or way, which is nice. So they are reversible. There is no right way to pop them on. So it means you can't get confused or get it wrong. When they are attached on, they look like that. Again, very nice pink Atheron-esque beam effects. And that's what they look like. This right here is the Beam Riser Slasher mode. So last up in here is the alternate head parts. Now this is what it looks like when it is not painted or anything done with it. Now this is what it will look like out of box. It could be a bit mildly disappointing, but at the same time, I think it's best to look at it the other way. It's nice to have this actually included at all, even if you do have to detail it up yourself a little bit. So this right here is what it will look like detailed up a little bit. Now mine is not finished. I wanted to wait for the paint to dry to actually kind of take off the little excess bits where it kind of went a little further than it should. Also the cracks I only kind of filled in the standard panel liner really quickly. I really did want to give it all a good, nice panel line after letting that paint dry, but as you can see, it's still wet in some parts, but it's almost there, and it does bring some nice life into it. I'm going to attach it on, but well, I'm going to be quite careful doing so. As for what I actually did with this, first off, I grabbed some masking tape. I will mention I abandoned this pretty quickly. Then I grabbed some of the display markers. These are quite cool, and the reason I'm using these as opposed to actual Gundam markers is they do have a paint tip, which is easier to get into harder to reach places, especially on a kit like this. Now you could use a Gundam marker in Gundam Inner Frame Grey and use a paintbrush with it, but it is hard to kind of clean it off afterwards because it's not water-soluble paint. I just went for these again, brush tip, easy to use, and the color is quite accurate too. Inner Frame Grey, if not a little bit lighter. I will mention these are a little bit on the runny side, so masking with these not quite as effective as if you were actually going to spray the kit. So I got rid of the masking tape straight away and just kind of free-handed what I got. That does mean there will be a little bit of cleanup afterwards, so you should just scrape it off with a hobby knife, any kind of messy parts. But yeah, as for what we've got, let's slap it on. Anyway, as for attaching it on, just pop off the part that's on there, simple as this right here, and I'll just mention it in case I forget it during the actual articulation, but the eye in here is on a rail. The mono eye can move left all the way to right and back again. It's super simple to do. You just move it along just like so, and it looks incredible. As for the alternate part, underneath it is just all in that kind of pinky color. You might want to paint the inside in a nice gray as well, just to kind of give it a kind of mechanical, internal kind of feeling. As for attaching this on, it just pops on just like so, and like I mentioned, this is not complete yet. It shouldn't be shiny where the kind of shines are. It's just not dry just yet. I put on too many coats all at the one time, just trying to get this done. I do want to pan line over it as well, just to kind of take the softness out of the edges, put a little bit of harsh edges into it, and get those cracks out a little bit better. But as you can see, if you do actually paint this up, even with just a paint marker, well, it's going to look really cool. Just out of box, a little bit on the plain side. So last up then, this comes to a little bit of compatibility with the Infinite Justice Type 2. We've got a cool but almost kind of pointless aspect to this kit. That is that you can actually use the torso of your Infinite Justice Type 2 in this particular kit. You just strip down the GOK just like so. Inside of this we do have a kind of remedial version of the actual Infinite Justice Type 2's body. It doesn't have all of the colors, missing some of the cheeks, chest colors, as well as the whole back out of it, and then you just pop in the other version just like so. It all builds up exactly the same, and there you can see it inside. Like, it makes next to no difference whatsoever. The only real difference is there's more color separation in the cheeks you might see through the hole, but besides that, cheeks through the hole. Usually it's the other way around. Anyway, you can do that, and that's pretty cool. However, you could definitely double down on the daft by using this torso with your Infinite Justice. It doesn't have any of the colors, feels like a very old school high grade, and there's no back on it, and no way to attach its backpack. So, what would you do with the rest of your kit? I guess it's just for a bit of fun, a bit of compatibility, but in a way, kind of pointless. Anyway, there's a little bit of a comparison between the two bodies. So the Infinite Justice Spec 2 full body here, and this is the kind of additional little part. It's even a whole lot lighter than the actual standard kit, well, for obvious reasons. So finally now onto the articulation, and you'd think this is where GOK would shit the bed, but not here. This does incredibly well, mainly due to its design. We've got some nice actual joints, like elbow joints inside of the arms and upper legs, so they do bend quite nicely. But we're going to start off as usual with the usual pose. Getting this into poses is very smooth and very nice. I guess I hyperextended the leg a little bit because I did pop the front skirting off, but I decided to leave it off for the sake of showing what this can do. Overall, it flows nicely, everything is nice and strong, and this right here is what we get in the end. It does pose up very well, not as much as you'd like to see down here at the ankle. If that could go flat, that would be great, but then again, it's a GOK. You really can't complain too much. Overall though, very, very impressive. Now let's check out every little bit of it, piece by piece. So when it does come to the articulation on the GOK, we've got a very nice ab crunch, and I don't even think I got this when I was actually doing the full pose. It actually moves forward very nicely at 2 joints, especially the lower one. We've got rotation side to side as well. It doesn't go the whole way around, but it does quite well. The shoulder joints on this are ridiculously impressive. Inside of the actual body, we've got a forward and back moving aspect, moving out towards the front very nicely. We do have full spin here on a peg all the way around. Arm movement up and down is quite nice. Where it gets really impressive is the bend at the bicep right here. So we've got the actual bend inside of the tube-esque arm, as well as a nice recessing element in the elbow section, giving us a ridiculous elbow bend for great poses. On top of that, we do have the opening and closing of the claw, as well as the spinning to the actual claw hand itself. The front skirting armor is a little bit limited. This is your standard ball joint. It just moves up and down and somewhat gets in the way of the legs at times. The side skirting is very impressive. We've got a ball joint for rotation and an actual mechanism in the gray section of the waist unit that allows it to slide back out of the way. When it comes to the kicks, there's the kick all the way up to the front, blocked by the knee hitting the front skirting armor somewhat, so that's why the leg is bent right here. If you move the side skirting out to the sides, there's the leg kicked out to the sides. And on top of that, then we do have a very nice bend to the leg, just like we would have seen on the arm. That is in the tubey aspect. We've got a little bit of a nice bend front and back, and the actual knee recesses just like we would have seen with the arm for a full nice knee bend. There's the recessing element. I will mention one of them did kind of get lost inside of my kit on the left hand side, but let's ignore that. And finally then down at the feet, we've got a simple pivot to the front as well as to the side. So not a whole lot down here, and there is no bending to the toes or feet at all, but it does mean we've got a really nice solid kit in the end. And overall posability is very, 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 very nice, especially considering it is a GOK. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and this right here is an X Gold tier kit, which essentially would have been like a Platinum tier kit would have been. Again, I will do the video tone about the tiers very soon, but as for now, it is a phenomenal kit. Everything about it is pretty much perfect. Aesthetically, everything on this is exactly how you'd want it. All the colors are represented on the overall standard kit itself. Everything is there, and it does look great. The angles are great, the detailing is great, there's no real nubs or seams to clean up too much, and overall, it looks spectacular. When it does come to the accessories in here, you get a whole lot of stuff. Again, you could consider a bit of a down point that the broken head part is not color accurate, but I consider a plus point that it is included at all. You usually don't get alternate parts for on your kits, especially battle damaged ones, so that is cool. Overall, everything else is nice. You got alternate hands. The backpack we would have seen with the Type 2, and speaking of the Type 2, you can actually use the torso and head of your Type 2 inside of this kit right here. So full marks once again for the accessories overall. Finally then, when it does come to the articulation, it is phenomenal considering it is a GOK. It does lose some points here and there, especially in regard to down at the ankles and a little bit of a clash in the waist unit a little bit, but overall you get great poses. It's a GOK. It's not meant to pull off yoga poses, but every pose it does, it looks incredible in. Overall, a fantastic kit. Like I said, using the classic system, it would have been Platinum, but we need space and room for growth. Again, I will talk about how I've changed it up. It is more than just a kind of cosmetic change. There is more to it. It is a little bit more in depth than it ever was before. It's a full-on 5-star system, and every little aspect of the kit gets ranked. It just hasn't really been, well, I haven't made the little pictures and stuff just yet. Quite right. They're there, but not finished, and I'll do it soon. But anyway, again, fantastic kit, amazing GOK. If you loved the design, you need this kit. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, I cannot finish this video right here without thanking every single one of you guys for watching, and special thanks to those who support me on both the channel memberships as well as on Patreon, including Simon, Scotty Thomas, Abraxas, RG59061, Joe, Vanfon, and Caleb Engelhart.